Okay, I just want to talk to you today about wave selection as it relates to developing surfers. This is to do with positioning, paddling, positive paddling in the water, and the cues and the decisions made when to actually begin paddling and what that looks like. You know, when selecting and catching waves, this is for surfers when they move from riding foam waves to paddling out the back and catching unbroken green waves. And there are a number of skills and cues that must be learned to consistently achieve success. Number one is you need to position yourself on the peak where the wave initially breaks. And this is decided by having some sort of beach observation on the beach before you paddle out. And then when you get out the back, position yourself in relation to what you discovered from the beach. Whenever you're out the back, you need to paddle with purpose when positioning and when paddling for waves you are trying to catch. Number three, you need to recognise and only paddle for waves that physically can be caught and have the potential for a fun ride. Okay, so firstly, when we think about positioning, often when you see surfers in this stage of surfing, where they've just started paddling out the back and they're trying to work out where they can catch their waves from. Often what they do is they sit wide on the peak or in the channel, so the channel's here, and they sit wide and they don't position themselves on the wave in the lineup where they can actually physically catch the wave. And you can see here, this is where the wave is here, and the surfer is out here somewhere way off the peak. So get yourself on the peak where it initially breaks and position yourself where that's likely to be. What happens is if you are close to the peak but not on the peak, what happens is you can paddle for the wave, and you can see here in this instance, surfer's paddling for the wave, but he doesn't get the wave because he should have been over here paddling for the wave. So it can be like 10 yards, 10 metres, and if you're out that far, what happens is that then you miss the wave. The consequences of that are that you can see in this case, because this surfer paddled for the first wave of the set, when they turn around, the next wave will more than likely break on the head, and therefore they'll miss both waves, simply because they weren't on the peak. The third instance here is that this surfer here, again, is paddling off the peak. You can see where the wave is, the surfer's paddling off the peak, and as a consequence of this here, in this case, the surfer actually catches the wave. But the reality is once the surfer gets up and starts riding the wave, the potential of the wave has been spent or been used, and the surfer has a poor ride or no manoeuvres performed because of it. Whereas if the surfer had positioned themselves on the peak over here, then they could have come off and done a couple of manoeuvres before they took off and probably finished with a cutback to finish. So it's up to the surfer to position themselves on the peak. And so if you are paddling out, if a surfer is paddling out and they see this wave breaking, instead of turning around, what they should do is paddle over the wave and then head over here where this wave initially broke and wait for the next set. And although they may get less waves because of it, the quality of the wave and the potential to perform better surfing and have more fun is enhanced because of it. Often in the surf, when people first get out there and they're trying to work it all out, you can see in this case, this surfer just sits there while the wave comes towards them. And so what they're doing is at this point they're deciding, do I paddle for it, do I not, whatever. And they're in a state of confusion about what to do. it is better in this situation to actually, okay, look at the thing and paddle over the wave in anticipation that there's another wave behind it, that they may be able to position yourself on the wave to actually catch the next wave. Whereas here, the surfer, because of the confusion, the surfer is not sure what to do, and they just do nothing in this case. So what I'm advocating is that any time you're in the water, if you're paddling out through the break, if you're paddling for waves, paddle with purpose, paddle with power, and you'll have more success because of that decisiveness. Okay, so you're on the peak and there's waves coming in towards you, but which one should you paddle for? And the reality here is that in this case here, this example, you see this surfer decides to paddle for this wave, and the result is that they don't catch the wave. And again, if there's a wave behind, they get the wave on the head, or they put themselves out of position for the next wave they could catch. In this case, we could class this as a flat swell coming towards a surfer. If a flat swell is coming for a surfer, you're unlikely to catch it, you waste the energy, you put yourself out of position, and you're more likely going to get the next one on your head. Another mistake people make is they paddle for waves that are fully formed, that actually are and they break over the top of the surfer as they try to stand up. And that's just as bad as paddling for a wave that they can't catch. It's one here. So if the wave is fully formed, maybe the surfer should just paddle over the top and look for one where they can catch it in a more effective way. The third type of wave here is one which I class as half formed. And you can see that it's not flat and it's not fully formed, and the surfer has a real possibility of catching the wave if they paddle hard and with commitment. And you can see in this case the surfer does and gets up and starts their ride because of it. So the three types are a flat wave, which is not a good one to paddle for because you can't physically catch it. The next type is a wave where it's breaking over the top of the surfer's head or fully formed, and that has a late takeoff and a low success rate if you do try to get to your feet. And the wave to paddle for is one that's in between the two. It's half built and it's feeling the sandbank, and it's going to come in, and with effort, you'll catch the wave. So the decision which one to paddle for is a critical factor to how many waves and how successful the surfer may be. Finally, if the surfer chooses the right wave to paddle for, paddles with commitment, breaks the ledge on the wave and jumps to their feet in an effective way, they get a good ride. In these two cases, the same, the surfers make good decisions, paddled hard, got to their feet, and got a ride, rather than the frustrations of paddling for waves they can't catch or paddling for waves that they break on top of them as they're about to stand. So these things are very important to wave selection when you're a novice or developing surfer. Position yourself on the peak where the wave initially breaks. Paddle with purpose whenever you're in the ocean. Paddle over waves that you don't want to paddle for in the anticipation that there'll be a better one behind. And only paddle for waves that you can catch. And the way to think about that is a half-form wave, and you'll have much more success in your surfing endeavours on a daily basis.